Hey, it's Empress Rose. Welcome to our collective reading. I am, as you can see, at the beach in Washington State. So, I've already shuffled. I started this reading, but got a little lost along the way. So we just pulled one card, though. From the bottom of the deck, we have Three of Cups. So that's our underlying. So this is a reading that's going to be about friendship, maybe about celebration. About getting together, about talking with our friends, people that we know and care about, sharing joys and concerns, being together, and connected emotionally to people. Could be about a specific celebration, maybe. Also from the bottom of the deck, 10 of Pentacles, 10 of Materials. Success, material success. All right. This is our past. This is our present. This is our inner landscape, hopes, fears. What's at issue? Environment. Ooh. Environment. To-do list. Possible outcome. All right. So in our recent past, we have the Star card. So this is a card about faith, hope. It's the Aquarius card. It's about having dreams and there being like a real reason, watering the dreams, a reason to dream, a reason that there might be success. You know, it's the Wish Upon a Star card. There's something that you hold in your hand here, or that you have held in your hand. There's something that you have held in your hand that tells you that what you're dreaming of is in fact possible. Possible. It's possible. It's not guaranteed. The Star card is about wishes coming true, radiating those wishes, radiating that dream. And you have a little bit of it. You've had a taste of it. This isn't some foreign idea or some impossible thing. Your current situation, 10 of Voices, never a fabulous looking card, but it is a completion. It's about the end. I want to say the end of a communication, the end of it's the swords, the final little bits of a painful situation. It's really interesting because this is a painful situation. This is a painful situation that you've wanted to end, that you've wanted to see the end of this. You've wanted to put this to rest. You've wanted the final words, the final say. There's a finality here. And the painful situation is coming to an end. And for some reason it does look like, the Star card has so much hope, so it kind of feels a little weird that our hope would be something ending, something being over. That would be like our hope, would be that something would be over. And the wish fulfillment of something coming to an end. It could have to do with words. It could have to do with conversations. I want to say the last word, or it is the last thing here. It's the last sword. It's the last suture. Goes in. You know, we can see that as the suturing, right? The piercing of the skin over and over and over again in a way that creates healing and that creates the capacity for healing. So I want to say the final suture to a situation, being tied off here, and then the healing can begin, you know, in earnest here now. Hopes, fears, inner landscape. Your hope here is 6 of Cups, 6 of Emotions. Reconnecting with the childhood self. connection, emotional connection, childlike connection, delight, joy. But there's a dream, a rekindling of a dream, and maybe you're both worried. You know, it is Venus retrograde here, so maybe you're both worried and excited about love, things that you've loved from the past coming back and emerging here. And there could be, yeah, it's reunion, reigniting, rekindling, not rekindling necessarily, but, and it's in your hopes and fears. So, you know, as we age, we want to like reignite those, that youthful excitement. We can do that with the children in our lives and with the, but there's also other ways in which we reconnect with our past selves, past delights, past joys. But this one, she's a little, I don't know, she seems, there's maybe a little bit of depression or giving up or forlornness to this. And what's inside is all this hope and all this joy, and there's this memory of that. There's this memory of this joy and this delight, but there's a hopelessness in the present moment. I almost want to say that you're observing yourself. There's an outside observer here to this emptiness, or to this, I want to say that you're observing that, or that it, I mean, it's supposed to be hopes and fears, but there's a sense of being the observer here. And I think we have a card that probably would have come out in that, but being the observer, watching yourself with these different feelings and these different emotions and these different, both this childlike delight and these childlike dreams, and watching yourself also as you experience an emptiness where those dreams were, or a giving up of hope. But this is internal. Six of Emotions is internal. Because there's all the emotions here, and it almost feels a little bit like Five of Swords, where there's someone that's upset, there's someone that's delighted, and there's someone maybe that's observing it all. And all of these are you. There's delight, but then there's some sort of grief, but then there's some sort of just being able to step outside that and watch yourself. What's at issue here is the Moon in reverse. Things that intuition is feeling more like illusion, disillusionment, which is really what I was getting off the Six of Emotions, which is unusual for Six of Emotions. That's a very unusual reading of Six of Emotions. This disillusionment with connections, or this disillusionment with something that delighted you. Perhaps even the Star card, this wish you made, I want to say a wish you made upon a star, which I think dovetails with our last reading too. But a wish you made upon a star, and feeling very disillusioned with that process. And the Moon in reverse is going to be about things you don't know. There's a lot you don't know. There could be things being kept from you. You could be intuiting this, but it could feel like a delusion. Or you could be deluded about something and feeling like it's an intuition. So it's, and I also want to say there's a new moon energy here. Perhaps this is talking about the new moon coming up here in the coming week. So the new moon, I think it's in Virgo. It's coming up next week. Because it's reverse, it's the moon in reverse. So it's going to be new moon energy as far as just really not having any idea about, and I think in a way knowing you don't have any idea about something, knowing you really don't know. And I think that there can be maybe just a sliver of knowledge. If you have an intuition about it, it's so slight, it's so that it feels like a delusion. This is reminding me of yesterday. I was out here and there was an eagle sitting on a log really close by to me, and it was there for like an hour, and I started to believe that eagle was just a trash bag on top of a like a white trash bag that got caught on a black piece of driftwood, a half burnt piece of driftwood. I was like, there's no eagle that's sitting there for an hour, like right near me, watching me the whole time. Like, there's no way. And I turned away and was just like, yeah, there's no way. I turned away. And then when I turned back, it was gone. And it had flown. There had been an eagle flying over me before that, back and forth over me. And so anyway, that's a little bit of what this is reminding me. Like, the moment I was like, I am having a delusion here. I am seeing something that actually doesn't exist. This actually doesn't exist. There is not actually an eagle sitting near me on this beach. It's been there way too long. It hasn't moved very much, just the head. And I was like, yeah, well, that could be easily explainable by the wind, you know, with a plastic bag. So that's what this moon in reverse is telling me. Of like, something that seems like it was something, but maybe it's nothing, but maybe it is something. And just kind of having those sort of thoughts, maybe looping, or maybe, you know, was I delusional? Is that? And then there's something, you know, as what happened yesterday, there's something that eventually happens. And I'm like, oh my gosh, of course, the minute I'm not paying attention, it takes off. So in your environment, 5 of emotions, there is grief and sadness, regrets. They're moving. There is emotional movement here. We have 5 of emotions, 6 of emotions, 3 of emotions. There's movement here. There's regret. There's sadness. So this is someone around you is having some grief and some sadness, and that the emotions are starting to move, and maybe the emotions were frozen in place at some point. But the underlying here is this 3 of emotions, and we have the 5 of emotions. So somebody here that you're gathering with could be feeling a lot of regret and sadness and grief. They could be actively grieving something. They could be, I feel like, because this card depicts ice starting to flow, it could be some sort of grief, delayed grief, or a grief that's starting to flow, an understanding of loss, an understanding of what was lost. Not just, I mean, sometimes the card is just like, I'm sad, and then it's like, okay, you're sad, or I regret this, I regret doing this, I regret, can I recover from this? I regret this situation, am I able to recover from it? And this card is about, like, the grief process can bring you to this place where you can move on. Once things start to flow, then you have the vehicle, you have the ability to move on. I mean, there's people like in a canoe or on a stand-up paddleboard here, and it's like you can't really paddleboard over the ice, but once that, what's been frozen in time, or once that grief starts to flow, melts and begins to really flow, which can often mean active tears, active crying. Once that grief starts to really start to flow, then now we can move on. Now we have the capacity to move on, because we ourselves are not like frozen, and our emotions are no longer frozen in time and space. There's actually movement going on here. So for somebody in this party, in this gathering, there's active grieving going on, there's movement, and it may be, you know, there's no timetable on grief, in part because things get frozen and stuck in there. And only when they really start to flow do we actually get to, like, do we experience them. So, you know, it's like Aang from The Last Airbender, you know, it could have been frozen there for like 100 years, you know. But once it starts to flow, it's just as fresh. It's just as young as it was 100 years ago. It's just as fresh as it was 100 years ago. Like Aang, right? It's not like Aang came out, you know, I'm talking like this is like a real biography here, but it's not like Aang came out with, you know, and he was 112 or 113, however old he's supposed to be in that series. But no, he came out as 12. So that can be the same thing as grief, is like, yeah, we have this, it gets frozen, and then it's just as fresh when it starts moving. So your to-do list is 11 of inspiration, 4 of inspiration. I don't think it's the 1111 card. It's the leveling up card. It's the commitment, engagement card. It's making commitments, making engagements. See, they're with, again, we have like this party vibe here, right? This 3 of emotions. And it's this commitment to this group, to this activity. Perhaps it even is a group that you're committing to. I can almost see this as being like Alcoholics Anonymous or something like that. Like people, we're sharing joys and concerns. We've got these cups. And making a commitment to something like that. But 4 of Inspiration, a commitment card, a leveling up card. But there's a group element. There's always like a public element to this card too. But it is like committing to a process, committing to an emotional process, committing to an inspired journey. But there is something about this being with other people, or someone else, right? It's the 1111 engagement card. So it's committing to the next step of the process. It's not the marriage card. It's not the till death do us part card. It's the engagement card where we are saying we are fully engaging with this and we are committed to a process. So there might be a sense in which you need to commit to something, commit to a process, commit to your growth, maybe with others, but also solo. You could be committing to some growth here and following through on that commitment. Could be friendship, right? We have this 3 of emotions. It could just be friendships and just like committing to growing friendships, or even a friendship hitting a new level. Like maybe we've just been acquaintances, but now we're gonna actually like hang out like friends do, and share like friends do. Possible outcome, 7 of Voices. This is kind of an interesting outcome. Especially sitting next to this moon in reverse. This is deception. Hidden things. I would prefer the moon to be upright here and the 7 of Voices to be reversed. So that would be like the hidden things coming out, the hidden things. But this is, there might be things that you don't talk about. Perhaps you do make a commitment to a process or some sort of next stage in something, but you don't necessarily announce it. So sitting next to the 4 of Inspiration is really interesting because the 4 of Inspiration to me talks about some sort of public element. We have traditionally depicted a engagement party, basically. Like we're engaged and we're telling everybody, we're excited about this. I'm not seeing the Rider Waite one. I'm seeing a couple other ones. Mostly the Golden Tarot, where there's, this celebration, there's a crossing of a bridge, there's the huppa, or I don't think I ever pronounce it correctly. No matter how many times people tell me about it, I don't think I ever pronounce it correctly. The huppa, the sort of, let's call it an archway in a garden. The entrance and exit to something, a new stage. You're entering a new stage. It's crossing some sort of threshold, but there's usually a party involved. 7 of Voices is talking about maybe not a party involved here. Maybe whatever commitment, whatever next stage something goes to, we're keeping it quiet. We're being very clever about it. We're being very, very smart about something that's going on. That's what I'm seeing mostly with the 7 of Voices, is being very clever. It can also be about avoiding conflict, very cleverly avoiding conflict. This 7 of Voices, it can be about being a little bit sneaky about something. Is it other people withholding information, or is it you withholding information? But this Fox card just has like, there's some sort of shadow to something. Like, so this 4 of Inspiration, this leveling up, there could be a shadow to it that might be difficult there can be a shadow, right? Like however bright the sun is, we're going to have an equally well-defined dark shadow. So if the sun is very diffuse, then our shadows are very diffuse and it's not quite so clear. But if we have a really bright, strong sun, then the shadow is very dark. So every sun casts a shadow, which is a line from a book called The War of Art, but I'm sure other people have said it. Every sun casts a shadow, and so I think that that's a little bit of like, we have this form of inspiration, we have this, but there's going to be some shadow aspects, maybe some backlash to something. Maybe if you get a promotion, there's a sense that there's going to be some backlash to it. So you're going to need to be very clever and very smart about how you talk about that, how you announce it to people that might be jealous, might be upset, might be angry. So that's what I'm getting from this. It can also be that there's deception around you, that other people have leveled up but they're not telling you, or other people have gotten engaged but they're not telling you, or something like that. But really, like with these cards here, there is somebody maybe being very clever about how they're going about. It relates to this Four of Inspiration. There's a leveling up, and then there's a shadow about that, and there's a sense of needing to be very clever about how that's dealt with, is what I'm seeing here, next to the Four of Inspiration. Yeah. Well, I don't really have like a good way to like end the video. Like normally I have a little prayer, but those are all back at the campsite. So I don't know. Here we go. Poseidon. Have a good week. Bye.